the stretched, meaningless, and pretentious film, not even close to Scorsese's early works. There is no doubt that this film will be prized, not because it's good, but simply because it's trendy and culturally and politically correct.
Our Native American friends, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you?
After all, Martin Scorsese is a great director. I won't argue with that. In fact, he's one of my favorite directors, and he can't make rubbish, even though he can and has done so often.
How could I have done this?
If you adore the master, you're a faithful movie lover and perhaps even intellectual. So prize without analyzing. This is not the first or last time when the perception of some people is programmed by certain attitudes and conventions. Their judgment is prearranged. It's sad, but it's a fact.
It's a fact.
What will we see if we set aside prejudices along with once renowned name of the greatest director? What we'll see is honestly weak, drowned down, and meaningless cinema, almost without any positivities or strengths.
Now I'm called Tuca Chinchilla.
What does it mean?
Fluffy bunny feet.
Someone needs to say it, so let it be me. The film's theme is as simple as can be. In the world, there are greedy and cruel people willing to do anything for the power and money. They will go to any length just to achieve their goals. And the new film by Scorsese tells about their actions as well as the consequences of their deeds. And the Native Americans don't play a special role here. They can be replaced with any other ethnic group. For the core of the story, it won't make any difference.
Wouldn't make any difference.
Well, what a surprising fact. What a great topic. It's like they never made movies about it before.
I've had my ass kicked so many times.
They have a lot. Even Scorsese made movies about it, and much better ones. All of his gangster films, including those about the thirst for power and human nature. And this was many decades ago. However, the film is completely without decent and touching drama. In this story, essentially, there isn't a positive character, or a character who would initially be negative and then after going through fire, water, and moral torment would become positive. The problem is that DiCaprio's character not only surprisingly spiritless and entirely uninteresting, like Primitive Organism for example, but also a negative character. He doesn't oppose the evil embodied by his uncle De Niro's character. He crawls before this evil and complies with it. And his action at the end of the film not in any way breaks this evil circle, because DiCaprio's character does this act simply out of hopelessness when other characters and story literally force him to do it, not because of his own will. He remains a pathetic and empty little man as he was from the beginning of the movie. Just think about it. In a film that lasts 3.5 hours, the main character doesn't have normal development. No character arc, no breakdown, no changeover. Scorsese couldn't care less about classical drama. He does what he wants, and what he wants is to serve up, in the case of Killers of the Flower Moon, uninteresting, worn out nonsense.
What the hell have you people been smoking out there?
Speaking of film duration, as I mentioned, 3 hours and 20 minutes. It's totally unjustified. The whole trivial story could have been presented compactly and graceful in 1.5 hours. But even that wouldn't have made the film good. There was simply nothing worth showing for over 3 hours. Nothing. And yet Scorsese insisted on producing unnecessary scenes, unnecessary shots, and unnecessary characters with admirable persistence. And you know why? Because he used to doing it. Many of his recent films run much longer than usual 2 hours. And a long duration is a sign of mastery, a sign of seriousness, a hallmark of the great ones who can afford it. And people will watch them even with such excessively inflated duration. Yes, of course, Maestro can afford it. And people will indeed watch it with such duration. But why does the film itself need it? Specifically this story. Why does the audience need it? It's not necessary. It's just the director's ego demanding it. What genre actually is this film? Well, who knows? Everything is thrown together. Pick any. Drama? Well, kind of. Thriller? Well, it seems like it, but I don't know. A film with historical flair maybe? Yes, but what's the point? None of the genres really works until the end, because the master can afford such trick. The funniest part is that essentially the structure of this film is the classic structure of Scorsese's beloved gangster films. A young hero enters new conditions, is taken under the wing of seasoned criminal authority. Then the young hero increasingly becomes part of the criminal system created by this authority, carries out his assignments, and in the end the criminal gets what he deserves. Does it ring any bell?
Look at my shoes, aren't they great?
You look like a gangster.
And you say, guys, it's a story about real Indians. So if you discard all this unnecessary stuff like Indians, old chronicles and more, you get the same thing as always, just worse. So what else, you ask me? The movie is completely devoid of intrigue and complexity. Everything in it is transparent from the very beginning. Who is the villain is clear. What he does and will do is also clear. All the moves and turns of the movie are obvious. What will stop him is also evident. How he will be stopped, it's banal and uninteresting. The main character, as I already mentioned, doesn't evoke any sympathy at all. And how could he? Moreover, DiCaprio plays his character with 2-3 emotions and the same facial expression. And I'm definitely not blaming DiCaprio for this. It's clear that it was director's intention and DiCaprio followed it. The supporting characters are primitive and serve functional roles. This one is villain's henchman, this one is good Indian, and so on. The film is so incapable of providing strong characters or any character development. Like many films by Nolan, who excels in technical aspect but falls short in characters and drama. Tenet is a bright example, while The Prestige is an exception to this rule. But unlike the works of the visionary Nolan, Scorsese's new film lacks even technical components. The film is shot in the usual way, as any average director could have done. But worst of all, Killers of the Flower Moon is horribly pretentious and inflates itself into something unknown. Killers of the Flower Moon is a bunch of pawns scattered on a chessboard, imagining themselves proudly standing as queens. But that in no way decreases Scorsese's past achievements. He will remain in the history of cinema as one of the strongest and brightest directors of his time. It's just that his time has passed. His creative potential has ran out. He is already 80, by the way. And it ran out, to be honest, a long time ago. It's neither good nor bad, that's life. The same happens to all creators and artists if they don't retire on time, before old age sets in. Look at the early works of renowned directors and their latest films made after 60-70 years. It's always the same. Everything has its time, and it's better to understand when to stop. If you analyze cinema rather than judge it conventionally without using your head, it's better not to waste time. Scorsese's previous film, The Irishman, was exactly the same stretched out nonsense and boredom. A pale shadow of his early films, which rightfully occupy place among the best genre works in the history of cinema. Look guys, just better rewatch Goodfellas, Casino, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, or even The Wolf of Wall Street. And thanks a lot for watching. Like if you liked it, subscribe, and don't forget to comment. And see you in the next episode.
2, 3.